So come let us go hand in hand, because this is our land. Come my brother, come my sister, and let us build a nation together.
Come, let we build a nation together. I want to welcome you to this segment in the Dynamic Hour. Again, I want to encourage the viewers on Facebook and YouTube to please share the live. How this thing operates, social media. If you share the live on your page, your friends will then get the opportunity to view, to listen, to follow. So you have a responsibility as a person who wants the news to get out there to share the live at least once on your page. So please go ahead and share the live. I want to start off this morning by saying the NNP, when they were in power, always gave their supporters and the Grenadian people generally this impression that they love the poor and the vulnerable. They always gave people that impression after the GLP with Sir Eric Matthew Gary, Keith Mitchell, and the NNP is really a similar thing, right? A similar party has a similar ideology or plan or program to do more for the poor. But that's false. That's incorrect. Because the NNP was in power for 23 years and a half. And I was looking around to really see what the NNP did for the poor people of this country. I would love for somebody out there to call and say to me, Kem Jones, these are the things the NNP did in 23 years and a half for the poor people of Grenada, Carriacou, and Petite Martinique. You know, the NNP keep repeating poor and vulnerable, that it becomes for the NNP supporters something nice. Anytime they hear it, they smile, they feel good, they feel happy, because it is a strategy to get people to believe that you're actually doing something for this group of people. If you repeat it over and over and over, then they would believe that you like them, or you love them, or you care about them. But I challenge anybody out there, if you can call me and tell me some of the things that the NNP did for the poor people in this country, I will listen, and I would be happy to change my position, because I maintain that the NNP doesn't care about the poor and the vulnerable people in the country. Of course, they love to see you poor. Of course, they want you to remain in the condition, in that place of poverty forever and ever and ever. And they want to prey on your vulnerability. They want to take advantage of it. So they keep repeating over and over that they love you and the poor and the vulnerable, the poor and the vulnerable. But what can they show the Grenadian people that they have done for the poor and the vulnerable people in the country? Because in every country, you will have poor and vulnerable people. In the great United States of America, you have people who are poor and who are vulnerable. I am challenging the NNP. Put on the table the things you have done for the poor and vulnerable people in this country. Because the NDC to date can put on the table the things that they have done in 2 years or under 2 years for the poor and the vulnerable people of the country. One, the free textbook program. Remember, it was the NDC who introduced a free textbook program, giving the students free books, and don't matter what school they were attending, private or public, they all received free textbooks. The NDC introduced that. When the NNP came into power, they removed the students who were attending private schools because they said they can afford, their parents can afford, although we all are taxpayers and a child is a child. You should not look at the car or the house that a child is living in because you don't know the kind of sacrifice that parent or parents have to make to send that child to that school. So the NNP removed them and the NNP stopped buying new books. So they were recycling what was in the program. And eventually, you started having a book list for 10 books, but you were getting 3 or 4 or 5. That is what the NNP did. But it was the NDC who introduced the free textbook program, geared at easing up the burden from the poor people in particular, because the poor man, the poor woman with a child or children would be more impacted by the free textbook program. A person who has money can easily buy books and not worry. But a poor person who cannot afford to buy it or has to put aside other things to buy the books for their child or children, they would be impacted the most. So that program really helped the poor and the vulnerable people in the country. No one can dispute that fact. The NDC again introduced the free hot meal program in the schools. So a parent who normally has to find $1 for that primary school child or $3 for that secondary school child would now be at ease knowing that the government is providing that hot meal on that school day for that child. So again, it is easing up the burden on the poor people in the country. So while we know the free hot meal program is for everybody, The free textbook program was meant for everybody. But the people who will be impacted the most would be the poor people in the country. The NDC introduced the free textbook program, the free hot meal program, and the free tuition program or policy, saying if you have a child attending TAMCC, the Lone College in Grenada and Carriacou, if you have a child attending NULO, where you can get the technical and vocational training, they do not have to pay that $810. So that parent or parents don't have to hurt their head to find that money to send their child or children to college or to NULO, because the government is paying that for them. The people who will be impacted the most by this particular initiative would be the poor and the vulnerable people in the country. So they no longer have to find that $810. They could, be at ease. That's important. Three initiatives geared at helping the poor and the vulnerable people. The WASH program, where the government is providing a modern indoor bathroom and toilet facility for households with pit latrines, outdoor toilets. And may I say to you, the statistics show that hundreds of people in Grenada, Carriacou, and Petite Martinique still using pit latrines. The NDC is seeking to eradicate pit latrines, and the people who use pit latrines are predominantly poor and vulnerable people. I am not saying a person who maybe they have money, they have land, may not have one. But generally speaking, the people who use pit latrines, outdoor toilets, are the poor and the vulnerable people of the country. So the NDC is seeking to eradicate that by providing a modern indoor bathroom and toilet facility with pipe-borne water. And they have done so starting in Belial, St. David. They are now going throughout the country to have people with pit latrines get a flushable toilet. That again is geared towards helping the poor and vulnerable people of the country. The NNP, on the other hand, when election time was close, they run and started one or two bathroom and toilet facilities for some people. It was an election ploy. It was an election gimmick, because they were there for 23 years and a half. They had the opportunity to build back, or to build, not build back, but build for people with latrines a modern indoor bathroom and toilet facility. In 23 years, we would have eradicated pit latrines, right? So I'm saying again, the WASH program will impact the poor and vulnerable people the most. The JUMP program, providing internet service to households without. During COVID time, we saw how important internet connection is, access to internet, and having a device so that the kids could still learn, could still be involved in classwork. The NDC decided to partner with Flow to provide internet access to households without, a device, and training to use the device. I think 1,500 households will be impacted by this particular initiative. But the homes, the households without internet are generally the poor set of people in the country, right? So again, this program is geared at improving the living standard and condition of the poor people in the country. You look at the pension and gratuity. The NDC administration paid $75.1 million to people who retired. In some instances, 5 years, 6 years, 7 years, they retired. And they were marching in the streets under the NNP administration for their pension and their gratuity. The NNP refused to give them. The NDC came in and gave them their money. In fact, the majority of these people became poor or poorer. They were considered the working poor. So they worked for the state and then they retired back into poverty. So you had a lot of these people regress into poverty. The NDC came and they lift these people out of poverty by paying them the gratuity, that lump sum amount, and by giving them their pension every month. Well, every fortnight, every 2 weeks. They get half and half. Folks, this is a government that cares about the people of the country. The poor and the vulnerable people are not left out. Then you look at the regularization of land, Crown lands, giving title deed to people with Crown lands who are on Crown lands. There are a lot of people who are living on Crown lands, government lands, and they don't have papers for it. Yes, they may have a wall house on it, but they don't have papers for it. They cannot take out a loan and use it as a security. They cannot pass it on to the next generation, their sons, their daughters, and so on. They can't pass it on. It's not theirs. It's still in the name of the state. The house might be theirs, right? Property on it, but not the land. So what the government is seeking to do is to give them a clear path to getting title deed for that land. That's a great move. That's generational wealth creation and lifting people out of poverty. Having a title, having a piece of land, that's that asset. It can work for you and your family for a long, long, long time. That again is a move to lift people from poverty. The minimum wage adjustment. NNP has been or was in power for 23 years and a half. And they never, ever increase the minimum wage, even if the law says that it is a requirement every 4 years to review and to adjust the minimum wage based on the rate of inflation. But the NNP refused. So people were working for very little and nothing was changing for them in terms of their salary. The NDC came into power and they adjusted the minimum wage. The Imani trainees, they are getting $1,200 as a stipend instead of $700. You hear me? There are workers who used to work for $700 and $800 a month. They are now working for $1,200 and $1,400 a month. Right? There are security workers under NNP. They used to work for $4 an hour. They're working for almost $10 an hour now under the NDC. NDC cares about the poor and the vulnerable people. They are not just talking. They are not just giving lip service, but their actions speak to their genuine nature, their caring nature. They are sincere about lifting people out of poverty and providing them with a better life, a better living standard and condition. And that's just some examples I gave. So I am saying to the NNP, put some examples on the table. I would love to hear the NNP side of this debate. The NDC increased the poor relief assistance from $300 to $500 for people 65 years and older, for people with disabilities, for people who are mentally challenged. $500. So while you hear the NNP saying, well, the NDC came into power and they removed $150, do you know that the NNP only put on that $150 just before the election as an election strategy, as an election ploy to get votes, in my belief? They never even had a solid budget in place for it. They never. So I challenge the NNP. I say to the NNP, if you can counter what I am saying, I will listen. Because it is clear the NDC is genuine about the development of this country and not leaving anybody behind. The poor and the vulnerable people of the country, they are also taken care of. And it is the hope of the government that they will come out of poverty, where they will become self-reliant and independent of the system. And that's just some examples. The scholarships that continue. Under the revolution, scholarships were given. Right? Under NNP, some scholarships were given. Under NDC, that continues. The house repair program, under NDC, that was there. Under previous governments, that was there. It's nothing new. Right? So all the social safety net programs, they were there before. But I am saying to the NNP, show me, put some examples on the table. Because you always talk about the poor and the vulnerable, the poor and the vulnerable. But where is the evidence to substantiate your claim that you care about them? Because I am putting the evidence on the table that the NDC cares about the poor and the vulnerable people. There are people who are in the public service and they are on contract or they're on some letter. They're not permanent. The NDC is regularizing them to give them security of tenure. They can go to a bank, get a loan. They can, take it from there. So the evidence is overwhelming on the NDC side that the NDC cares about the poor and the vulnerable people of the country. But folks, I want to open up the line because maybe I miss out one or two that the NDC did for the poor people in the country, for the poor and the vulnerable people in the country. Maybe I miss out one or two, or maybe I got it right. And if there are people who support the NNP and you want to challenge what I just said, you're free to call. The number is 415-4817. 415-4817. So you're free. If I miss out one or two, you're free to call. Because I am not the person who will say, I know it all. I do not have a monopoly on ideas or on knowledge. I don't have that. Right? So I am simply saying, if you are out there and you believe I miss out one or two programs, projects, initiatives geared at helping the poor and the vulnerable people under this administration, call me and let me know. And if there are people out there, you support the NNP and you believe that the NNP did stuff for the poor and the vulnerable people, put the evidence on the table. I would love to hear you. Again, the number is 415-4817. 415-4817.
The Ministry of Infrastructure is currently working on improving the production of cold mix at its location in St. Andrew and St. George. The plants at the Old Pearls Airstrip and in Bushes use.
We have a caller. Good morning. Good morning, caller.
Good morning, Kim.
Good morning. Yeah,
Yes.
Good morning. You're live.
I just want to say that even the blind can see the difference between the two governments, the two parties. So I don't know what more people want to be convinced that NDC is doing better for the ordinary man than the NNP. I don't know how much flashlight they would need to shine the country to figure out the difference. I mean, it's clear. Look at the Molyneux project in the man constituency, and he did nothing for years. Look at it, look at the difference today. I don't think Grenadians have to go to a special school to understand the difference between NNP and NDC. It's right there to be seen. That's all I have to say, brother.
All right. Thank you very much. Thank you very much, dear caller. Thank you very much indeed. And yes, I am happy that people are able to see what is happening here in the country. And it's easy. Like 1 to 3, as the caller said. Again, the number is 415-4817. 415-4817. That's the number to call to get on the inside to have your say. 415-4817. So again, if you believe I left out something or you want to contest what I said, you're free to do so. And those who support the NNP, if you believe that the NNP did stuff for the poor and the vulnerable people, put the evidence on the table and we will examine it. Again, the number is 415-4817. 415-4817. It's an open line giving you a chance to talk.
The Ministry of Infrastructure is currently working on improving the production of cold mix at its location in St. Andrew and St. George. The plants at the Old Pearls Airstrip and in Bushes, St. George will benefit from infrastructure upgrades aimed at reducing the importation of...
Good morning, caller. Good morning, you're live. Good morning.
How are you?
I'm fine, thanks. And you?
I'm very well, thank you. There's just something I want to bring to the attention, and I think it covers umbrella of poor and vulnerable as well. And I'm referring to the homes in Lacalome, where they had a huge sewer problem. And I remember looking at that problem for years. The people are crying out, they're trying to get it solved, and nothing is happening. And I actually saw an occasion when they went to the Chinese asking, and then the Chinese told them, go to their government. And still, the situation wasn't resolved. In comes the NDC, and now it's resolved. You're not hearing a word I mean, they're not even expressing gratitude enough as far as I'm concerned anyway. But that, I think, is a magnificent thing that they did. And they undertook the work early in their tenure as ruling administration. So I think that's really magnificent. And that lot of people must be satisfied and feel, well, they've accomplished something.
Fully agree.
That's my take.
Thank you very much. I fully agree with that caller. I fully agree with that caller. They did a wonderful job to construct a proper sewer system, right? It's a really good system there. And let's commend the government for that. All right. So thank you very much, there, caller. And someone was calling while you were on, you're free to do so. The number is 415-4817. So let's take that call. Good morning, caller.
Oh,
Good morning.
Kim.
Good morning.
Yes, I'm just going to highlight the Lakalum project that was constructed under the NDC.
Yes.
Yeah, and it took them at least less than a year to construct it.
Yes.
You know?
All right.
Yeah, so
Thank you.
the people of Lakalum was grateful for it.
Thank you very
All
much.
right.
One love. Good morning. Good morning, caller.
Hi, good morning.
Yeah,
How you doing?
I'm good, How are you doing?
I dey quiet, man. I want to put my little 2 pence. I want to say, during the campaign, the NDC under Deacon Mitchell tell us if he have to take a loan to pay the pension, he will take it because he didn't know if he had a pregnant treasury. Right. So he come and he paid the pension. This was one of the campaign promise, and it fulfilled. Even though you tell somebody you go do 10 things for them, and you come and you do one, that gives you a little trust to trust that person to know, well, if they say that, they will do that. So you see, NDC do things because more than one or two things in the campaign, and they fulfill it, and we could see today. So this is the trust that people have in government, because all years government come in and tell you they go do that and they go do the time. When you do head cry, they bypass all what they promised. But this NDC government try the best to fulfill many of the promises that they made in the campaign. Because NNP ruled for how much years? And they have promises that they made to people, and up to now you don't see it. I remember they promised that to give the elderly people when they traveling on a bus a ticket, and that never fulfilled. So can just thank God for the people that have the brain kind of working good still, so they could remember and listen and learn. Thank you.
All right. Thank you very much, dear caller. Thank you very much. Indeed, again, the number 415-4817. That's the number to call.
The Ministry of Infrastructure is currently working on improving the production of cold mix at its location in St. Andrew and St. George. The plants at the Old Pearls Airstrip and in Boucherville, St. George will benefit from infrastructure upgrades aimed at reducing the importation of 45 gallons drum of bitumen, which are essential for coal mix road maintenance. Chief Technical Officer Kevin Blash explained that the decision to enhance production facilities is intended to alleviate challenges faced by workers, especially during raining conditions. Over the years, workers had to heat drums of bitumen over a fire pit before use, a practice which can be dangerous.
So at both locations, we mix coal mix in-house. Previously, we used to bring in smaller 45-gallon drums of bitumen, but we saw it necessary to start bringing in the larger 20-ton, 20-foot containers of bitumen in order to be more efficient in our operations. We also have other plans in place to ramp up our production of and our quality of paving and so on in the coming months. So currently we mix our coal mix outside using our coarse finer aggregate and bitumen. Um,
All right. So
what ends up happening?
let's take that call. Good morning. Good morning, caller.
Good morning, Kim.
Good morning.
And how are you this morning?
I'm fine, thanks. And you?
Not too bad. I was a little bit annoyed with you a couple nights ago when you mentioned about all the big projects in Grenada. And you didn't mention our Tevin program on the Bella Road in Carriacou. And that is a massive project. So we must never forget Carriacou and Petit Martinic and Tevin on boots on the ground. Thank you.
All right. Thank you very much, there, caller. Thank you very much indeed. Well, we're not really referring to that this morning. All right. And when I speak about major projects, I kind of highlight those that have been featured, right, in a very prominent way. So the piece of road that was done there, I may not even know about that, right? So maybe one or two people can talk about it. You see, that's kind of different. So what we are looking at is the NNP. They always speak about the poor and the vulnerable, giving people this false idea that they actually care about these people when that is false. And the evidence is there to back up that. And I actually said we are looking at the NDC, and the evidence is there to show that the NDC cares about the poor and the vulnerable people. And I give you the evidence of a number of initiatives since the NDC came into power and what they have been doing to help the poor people in the country to get out of poverty, to have a better life, a better living condition, to be more prosperous, creating opportunities for them. So I have placed on the table the evidence. So I would love if I forget some, if I miss out some. I'm not looking at just projects that the NDC did, right? We are not dealing with that this morning. In fact, there will be a program dedicated for you to call and talk about the projects and things in the constituency and in the village and so on that you're proud of. I'm not referring to that. Good morning, caller.
Just good morning, brother.
Good morning.
Brother, one of the greatest problems that they make and they do it is the minimum wages.
I didn't hear that.
The minimum wage.
No, I didn't hear the first. How you begin? Well, you said one of the
greatest problems the NNP make.
The NNP? Hold on.
NDC make.
Oh, because I actually heard you said NNP there. That's why I asked you to repeat.
Is the minimum wage. Ken Jones, this government take out people and working about $35 a day. The poor and vulnerable people working about $35 a day. On the road all about today, they could say they're making about $50, $60 a day. Shaggy, the cook, Ken Jones, the cooks and the cleaners in this country here, them working about $400, $500, $600 a month. Today, all of them could say they're making $1,200 a month. What could be better than that? Ken Jones, the Imani program, my God, these people them don't have a heart. They work them people for 9.4 years for $700 a day. Today, all of them getting $1,200 a day. What I want the government to highlight is how much of them Imani people they keep. I'm sure they have more than 1,000 something people, Imani people working here. I want to praise this government, and I believe they must do more than any other government. The poor and vulnerable today, they better have 200 times. They give them $200 a month. The poor and vulnerable, no, some of them getting $500 a month. Who care more about them poor and vulnerable and Kit Mitchell than Zika Mitchell? I tell you, them will be, them do the most for this country, for this poor and vulnerable people than any other government in the world. Can you have a good day?
All right. Thank you very much, Jay Caller. Thank you very much. Indeed, again, the number 415-4817. 415-4817. Because you see, the strategy of the NNP is to repeat over and over the poor and the vulnerable, the poor and the vulnerable, to give the poor and the vulnerable this false sense, this false idea that they actually care about them. But when you look at the facts, the evidence, the NNP never did anything much for the poor and the vulnerable people in the country over the last 23 years and a half, or over the 23 years and a half that they were in power. But the NDC is not talking about the poor and the vulnerable, the poor and the vulnerable. They're actually doing things to lift the poor and the vulnerable people out of where they are to a better place, to a better place. And the evidence is there to show. So I am saying if I left out some of the things that I actually put on the table that the NDC did for the poor and the vulnerable people in the country, you can actually help me. You can add some to it. The NNP, if you believe that you did things for the poor and the vulnerable, put it on the table. Put it on the table. Let's take this call. Good morning, caller.
So, please, and the evidence.
Hello.
To show.
Hello, good morning.
I am saying if I.
Hello. Good morning.
That I
Can you lower the volume of your radio?
for the vulnerable people in the country.
Yeah, caller.
You can add some.
Yeah, caller, I would cut you off because.
If you believe that
Okay,
you
well,
did
bye.
things
Yes.
for the poor.
So you see, you're listening to yourself on the radio. You're waiting to hear me on the radio. Have a phone conversation with me. You don't need to hear yourself. No. Have a phone conversation because you're already live. All right? So please, when you call, have a phone conversation. Don't try to listen to yourself on the radio. There's a delayed broadcast, and the rain is falling heavily in my neck of the woods. All glory to God Almighty. Grenada is still a blessed place. We have a number of communities without water. Quite a number of people are complaining about water shortage. So maybe it's a good opportunity to put out that bucket, put out that drum, put out that whatever, and see how much rainwater you can get. Because rainwater is very, very clean. All right? Very, very clean. So again, with the fire in Mount Morris, I don't know if they were able to extinguish it totally. It's a good thing that the rain is falling to help in that process. All right? So again, it's good vibes, good move to go there, and if you want to bathe, you could bathe. If you want to fill up all your buckets and drums and so on, you can do that because the rain is falling heavily and quite consistently. So really good. Again, the number is 415-4817, 415-4817. We still have about 9 minutes left in the program. You see, I could challenge the NNP. I don't really call their programs. But if I do call their programs, I can challenge them with the facts. The NNP is saying that they care about the poor and the vulnerable. Show me the evidence that they actually cared. What did they do to help these people? I can put on the table the evidence that the NDC cares about these people and the programs, the initiatives that they actually rolled out to help the poor and the vulnerable people in the country. And that's important, very important. Let's take that call here. Good morning, caller. Good morning.
Good morning.
Yeah, can you lower the volume of your radio, please? Right, so you called earlier. You listen on the radio when I tell you lower the volume of your radio because you don't need to hear yourself. You don't need to hear yourself. Or after you can go back and hear yourself because there's a delayed broadcast, right? It's not in real time. There is a kind of 10 seconds, 5 seconds delay. Again, we have 7 minutes remaining in the program for this morning, and I want to encourage you to support the St. George North West constituency branch. They have a cruise coming up. I know St. Patrick East and West, they have their cruise coming up too, but that's in June. So because St. George North West is in May, I'm promoting that more.
An unforgettable night awaits you. Join us for the much awaited, much anticipated St. George Northwest DNA Cruise, happening on Wednesday the 29th, May 2024. We are setting sail from the Carenage St. George's aboard the Rum Runner 2. Boarding starts at 7 p.m. sharp. Get ready to dance the night away with Ben Legs and Fisherman Jr., bringing you the hottest tunes whilst you dine and line. Come dressed in white.
Let's take that caller. Good morning, caller.
Hi, Cam. Good morning, and good morning to all the
good morning.
listeners. I had to steal up 5 minutes from work because I need to chime in here. I just wanted to say what I find over the years with a lot of Grenadians, they have a mindset that is made up of nothingness, like just a fixated mindset that is only good for mediocrity and nothing. You're telling me we're seeing firsthand everything that the NDC government is doing, but still there are a bunch of people in Grenada that will tell you the government is doing nothing. That is because they're just accustomed to nothingness. And I was born and raised in Grenada. I've seen this. I've heard the older people when they spoke, when they say things. It's like a neighbor child is going to pass common entrance secondary school, and the comment they're going to make is, let me see how fast she's going to get. A neighbor going to say, oh, my daughter got a visa and she got an opportunity to go overseas. And they're going to be like, oh, well, they believe overseas just so I go hear about them. It's a mindset of our Grenadian people that is just stuck with them. And don't think they don't know what is good. They know what is good. They're seeing what is good, but they're going to be negative about it. No matter what it is, they're going to have that negative mindset about it. And like I talk to you all the time, Kem, when I said to you, with me wanting to go to college and trying to go get a scholarship. And I was told that I couldn't get it because my parents, my family was not NNP. And it's something that stayed with me for the rest. It's going to stay with me for the rest of my life, And I remembered one time when I went up and I was crying, and I was sitting in the yard and I was crying. And I remember a lady passed and she said to me, well, maybe that's a sign of God that you don't have to go to college. So this is the mindset of some of our people. They are accustomed to nothing. You remember like when the man came to Grenada and like showed Keith Mitchell the picture of Diamond and said that I have this and this is what I could do for your country, and everybody jumped into it. It's like Keith Mitchell coming and telling them, oh, we find oil, and nobody get any evidence, nobody heard anything, they're okay with it. Because it's a mindset of our people. And I don't know what it's going to take to change some of their mindset. I don't know if it's ever going to change, but I'm happy they are the ones that's getting up and slowly starting to understand and come into that grip. They have children that travel that could say to them, Mom, Dad, this is not the way it is. You don't have to settle for less. You don't have to sit there and expect nothing. You don't have to sit there and just let somebody just keep promising you and promising you and promising you things that would never be fulfilled. Look, open up your eyes. This is what you're getting now. This is what's happening. And I do think there are that's a lot of work to be done on some of the others that just sitting and expecting nothing and okay with nothing. Have a good day, everybody.
All right. Thank you. Well said. Well said there, caller. You could not have said it better. All right. It's a mindset. Only yesterday, we were discussing that. NNP is a mindset. And there are people in Grenada generally, they just have a negative mind. And it will take a lot to change that. It will take a lot to turn that around. It will take a lot. You see, to learn might be easy, but to unlearn someone and learn them, that is a difficult one. To take out a mentality, a mindset from somebody, it's not easy. Let's take that call. Good morning, caller.
Good morning, Kem Jones. How you doing,
I'm
darling?
I'm fine, thanks, and you?
Well, I'm not. I did the body, the body as usual, up and down all day, but I ain't want to miss your show next week.
All right.
I don't want to miss your thing next week.
Yes, Friday.
Yeah.
All right.
What I'm calling to say, what I want my government to do, sweetheart? I want y'all to take a lesson, not say a lesson. I want them to leave, like whenever they're out of office, they have a little show to show. They have something to show that what they have done to Grenada.
Right.
Like, you know what I mean? What
Yeah.
I'm talking
It's like a
about.
list of all the achievements and so on.
Yes, their achievement, all what they do for us, all what they do for our children and grandchildren. So when my government decide that he let it go the backwards to one of his members, we could sit down and we could play with radio, with TV, and we could listen to what he has done for the country.
Right.
Because when they ask the blow, what he has done, he have no record. But I want my government, my prime minister, to have a record day. So when he out, everything could record and we could sit down and listen and we could tell we grandchildren and we great grand, especially they have I see my 3 generation, Mr. Kim.
All right.
So I want that record to be there so they could teach them.
Okay. Plenty
Okay?
love. All right.
And you have a blessed day.
Same to you. Thanks.
You and your family.
All right. Thank you very much. Thank you very much, dear, my good friend. Thank you very much. And yes, we understand what you're saying. It is so important to document stuff because we are not going to be here forever and ever. So it's so important to document what you have achieved, what you have done, so that the next generation and next generation could know about it. All right? Very good. Let's take that call here. Hello. Hello. Good morning.
Good morning, Kem Jones.
Good morning. How you doing? Yeah. Good morning. How you doing? Hello. All right. We lost that call there. Pele, my good friend, we lost your call. Yes, it's 9 o'clock, but you could have at least speak still, and the folks online would hear you. All right. So we lost Pele there. In fact, he tried calling back twice. All right. So again, I want to wish you all the best. I want to wish you all right. Let's take that call. All right, let's take that call. Good morning. Good morning. Hello. Good morning. Hello. Good morning. Hello. All right, we lost Pili there. So, folks, I want to wish you all the best. Have a wonderful day. Remember, my event, as the caller said a while ago, is next Friday. Next Friday at the Trade Center. Good morning, caller.
Yes, sorry, Kem Jones.
Yeah,
This
no
is
problem.
disconnecting.
No problem.
Question: any update on the low-income housing program, like how many people got loans and when they would be distributing the keys for the house, etc.? I find that gone down on the totem pole. It's gone low.
Yeah,
Any updates?
No, I don't have, but I think it's fair to say that we have not heard anything much after that.
That's my problem.
Yeah, after
There's
that
a big
ceremony.
hoo-ha about it, but we hear nothing.
Yeah, I agree. I fully agree.
Okay.
Nice.
Yeah, let's see if we could get on that. Thank you very
Great.
much.
Nice.
Right. Good.
Yeah, I agree with you that there's a need for an update on the Chinese low-income houses. How many people got loans? How many people have the apartment already? Because there might be people who still trying to put together some money for fridge, TV, bed, stove, that kind of thing to move in, right? So a little update might be very, very useful. So I was saying, next Friday, The event is next Friday at the Trade Center and the Trade Center Annex. That's, the building close to the Trade Center. And we start at 4, going until 10, celebrating 10 years of your humble servant being on air, on radio. I have the tickets, as I told you. If you need a couple tickets, you can holler at me, send me a WhatsApp message. All right, you can link me up, and I will get it to you. We're going to make arrangements. 50 EC for one. Even if you can't make it to the event, buy a couple tickets as a form of appreciation, as a way of showing your appreciation for what I've been doing for the last 10 years. So we have the tickets. They're available. You can link me up, send me a WhatsApp message on 1473. That's our area code, country code, 473, right? 415-4817, 415-4817. And, we could communicate there.